So this is going to be part 7 of the deposition clips that Incredibly Average and Jax are releasing. I am also including a couple other video clips to disprove things said or to elaborate on certain parts. Every link I've used for this video, Incredibly Average, Jax's, all channels are going to be shared in the description. This first part is the paparazzi chasing and taking pictures of Amber before she walks into the deposition. If you have any flash imagery sensitivity or even motion sickness because they're running around like crazy, I suggest fast forwarding. I've posted the timestamp twice in this introduction. It is at 3:54. You can go straight ahead to the deposition. Otherwise, I just wanted to exhibit sticking it out to the end of this deposition because she's caught in so many lies. And we know now the truth of a lot of the things she claims. It's like a prequel to a Camille Vasquez roast. They're asking her if she released the video or who released the video, and they're referring to the TMZ cabinet slamming video because she claimed that Johnny hit her after that video because he fumbles with her phone and they drop it after he notices she's filming him and she's like hiding it behind her coffee mug and stuff. But yeah. It was proven in the 2022 trial that she was the one that released it, but she diehard would not.
This marks the beginning of media number 4 in the video deposition of Amber Depp. The time is approximately 5:30 p.m. and we're back on the record.
Ms. Heard, you were discussing your claims that Johnny Depp threw a phone on May 21, 2016, and thereafter grabbed your hair.
Yes.
I just wanted to reorient you to where we left off.
Thank you.
Prior to you saying Mr. Depp doing that on May 21, 2016, had you ever discussed with Io Tillett Wright anything or made any claim to her that you'd been abused by Johnny Depp?
I talked to her about a little bit of the violence, yeah.
You'd specifically told her about violence?
Yeah.
And your other friend, Elizabeth Mars, had you ever discussed with her prior to May 21 that there had been violence between you and Johnny?
I don't think so. I
And
don't
how-
remember ever
okay.
speaking to her about that.
Okay, and how about any other person? Did you tell any other person other than your mother prior to May 21 that...
I zoned out there for a second. I almost forgot to do commentary, which is required. Yes, I showed the text messages with her mom in the previous video because she claimed that she told her mom early on, but in the text message it explicitly says Johnny Depp did not get physical with her and that she's okay. So, and she says in the following part that she had visible bruises and she was bloodied. It's funny how we never saw any of those photos, but she continues to say throughout this that she has tons of evidence of it. Yet she didn't bring it to this deposition either. Also, her lawyer continues to do the vague and ambiguous. So for fun, I'm going to do a count on how many times he says vague, and I'm just going to present the number on the screen.
Johnny had been violent with you?
Yes.
Who?
Well, Raquel Pennington's fiance, Josh, had been in the room when I would either come over or when either I would go over to theirs or they would come over to mine.
And by theirs or mine, she means penthouses because her and her friends, Raquel and her, I think, fiance at the time, Josh Drew, all lived in Johnny's penthouse, rent-free. And I'm sorry, penthouses, plural.
Immediately.
So you told Josh?
Immediately preceding an incident, and I would still be bloody or bruised, or they would overhear, or they would,
Did you tell Josh that that Johnny had been physically violent?
Yeah,
I think
no
Josh
evidence
was in
of
the room
this
when Raquel and I
whatsoever.
would be talking about it, or Josh would walk in with Raquel immediately after an incident had occurred where it was clear.
Objection, move to strike. It's a yes or no question.
Oh,
Did you
excuse me.
ever tell...
She always just frivolously throws these people's names in as if they're going to attest to what she says. And Raquel and Io are the only ones that somewhat supported her claims. Josh Drew's deposition, however, does not support her whatsoever, in my opinion. And that's also on YouTube. I might still have it on my channel. I might have deleted it. But it's an interesting watch because he honestly tells about her extramarital affairs and stuff.
Josh Drew, prior to May 21, that Johnny had been violent?
I didn't have to tell Josh. Josh saw.
The answer is no, correct? You had
Wait.
never told him prior to May 21.
Argumentative.
Correct.
Let her answer the question.
Is that
Listen to the question and answer that question.
I don't recall specific times of telling Josh specifically.
okay? Any other person that you specifically claimed Johnny had been violent with you prior to May 21?
Yes.
Who?
Melanie,
Melanie Iglesias? Okay. Who else?
but I didn't have to tell her much. Melanie walked in once.
Did you tell her anything?
I don't remember what I told Melanie, but Melanie helped clean up blood and hair.
When was that?
December.
Oh yeah, the hair on the floor. I'm gonna go ahead and put up a picture of the hair on the floor that in my opinion looks like somebody cleaned out their brush and cut it, or it was just cut off hair. It does not look like ripped hair. And then I'll also put up the part that she says was the area of her scalp that had hair ripped off.
December
Melanie cleaned, actually covered my bruises for an appearance I had following an incident where I had 2 black eyes and a busted nose
Here's what she's referring to. The James Corden show.
and a busted lip, and she covered the busted lip. My hairstylist had twice, on 2 different occasions, covered up bruises and or missing chunks of
Did you
missing
tell
hair.
your hairstylist?
I did not.
Did you tell any other person your claim that Johnny had been violent prior to May 21?
Just
I'm-
think, take it slowly. She's
It's funny because Amber's lawyer the previous times has been rushing and saying they're only getting this certain amount of time and they will get it done today because she is not coming back. And now every other question he's telling her to slow down and then ends up asking for a break at the end. For some reason, all of a sudden he's all about really taking it slow and her answering the questions and valuing the time. It's bizarre.
asking for a narrative, so think about it.
No, I'm asking for a yes or no answer,
That's-
Ms. Hurd. Prior to May 21, did you tell any other person besides your mom and besides, I think you said Raquel, did you tell Raquel prior to May 21 that you were claiming that Johnny had been violent with you? Any other person other than your mom, Raquel, and Melanie Iglesias? Did you tell Melanie Iglesias?
I don't recall having to tell her. Yeah, I don't recall to what extent, but yes.
You did tell her.
Yeah, she saw.
She just said 2 minutes ago that she didn't tell her, but that she covered up bruises and hair or whatever.
So I didn't really have to explain.
Okay, whether or not she saw, did you ever tell her?
I confirmed.
Meaning you spoke words to her about Johnny having been violent with you?
I confirmed what she could deduce
How did you confirm it?
by crying and not denying what she said she realized is going on.
So
in their
isn't it the
relationship.
truth you never used any words to describe any claim that Johnny had been violent with you with this woman?
That's wait, stop.
He's about to say or act like what Blair just said was so offensive, but it's exactly what Amber just said. And then she makes a face like, it's just ridiculous. Here we go.
That is misstating her testimony, Blair, and it's argumentative and it's harassing. Ask your question and give her some space to answer your question.
Ms. Hurd,
You're
can you-
asking you're asking her to go back in time and recall things, and she needs a moment to do that. And I know you want to rush through this, but she needs a moment to think about these things.
Did you use words to tell any other person that Johnny Depp had ever been violent with you prior to May 21, 2016?
Yes.
Who?
Among the other people I've listed,
Oh my God, she's literally listed her mom. Her mom is the only one she said that she told that to. And there's been no evidence, actually evidence of the contrary, that she said he didn't get physical with her. Oh my gosh.
I confirmed it to my dad, who saw a picture of my face on my mom's cell phone.
When did he see that picture?
December.
December 2015?
Yes.
Okay. And you told him that Johnny had.
If that were true, why in the world would her parents be corresponding with Johnny when all of this was taking place and blaming Amber's lawyers for contributing to this mess and saying that her lawyers told her to do all of this to avoid getting evicted?
been violent with you?
It was the first time I ever admitted that to my father. And I used the words, Johnny beat the shit out of me. And I never heard myself admit that to my dad before.
You told your father in December of 2015 that Johnny beat the shit out of you.
He called livid on the way he was getting in his truck to come to LA because he saw pictures on my mom's phone.
Did you tell your
It's a
father?
yes or no question. You answer yes or no.
I wonder if that's her own lawyer getting sick of her answers.
Yes, I did.
You did. Okay. Did you tell any other person or claim to any other person that Johnny had been violent with you prior to May 21?
Yes.
Who?
Amanda DeCadenet, after she asked me.
When did she ask you?
She asked me on several occasions.
When was the last time prior to May that she asked you?
I can't remember a specific date that she asked me, but I certainly confirmed it at her birthday party when she caught me trying to put makeup over my bruises.
Ms. Hurd, on May 21, as the result of you saying that Johnny threw a cell phone at you, did that cell phone make contact with you at any time?
Yes, it did.
Where did it make contact with you specifically?
On my face.
Where on your face specifically?
This part, she refuses to point with her one finger. She continues, and she acknowledges, well, I didn't point, but I am with 5 fingers, but she won't just use one finger and point to her eye. And then her description. It's masochistic to even watch this. I don't know why I do.
Specifically.
What felt like my eye, around my eye.
Can you point to where it made contact as you sit here today?
It felt like right around the side of my. It felt like the side of my face and cheek. Felt like my side of my face and cheek. But in being pulled around by my hair, I somehow incurred some bruising on my body.
Oh, now she was pulled around by her hair. Initially, it was just he aided her in getting up with her hair by ripping her up by her head. Now he was pulling her around like a dog.
And my
She's
head
focused
was,
on this part. That was the question. Listen
sorry.
to the question.
Where did you incur contact with the phone?
Oh my God, I realized I'm only 15 minutes in. Whoever sticks through this with me, I appreciate you.
You say Johnny threw at you.
Asked and answered.
Can you point to the place on your face where you were saying the phone hit you?
it felt like the side of my right side of my face, around my eye.
Okay. Do you not have a specific memory of where it hit you?
Objection. She just said it.
I'm pointing to a specific part of my face.
Okay. What part of the phone hit your face?
I don't know.
Okay.
I kind
Seriously?
of had a hard time viewing the phone as it was being hurled at me.
Okay. Can
Well, technically, you would see the phone as it's hurled at your face. You just wouldn't after it hit you. So that's incorrect.
you point specifically on your face as to where the phone made contact with you?
Again?
Yes.
Asked and answered for the 3rd or 4th time.
Make the record reflect that the witness has repeatedly, not touching her face,
I can
motioned
touch my face.
around the right side of her face and her eye.
Is that not?
She's pointed
I'm not
to
actually touching
the
it.
side of her eye, the
I'm
right
I'm
side of her
pointing
right
with 5
eye.
fingers even.
Okay. Is the area that you are saying that you are circling the area you claim that the phone hit?
I'm touching with 5 fingers. I'm pointing with 5 fingers. The area that it felt.
See, I'm telling you, it sounds silly, but it's a power struggle. She won't just take her finger and point. That's why she's doing the whole 5-finger thing, and she's aware of it. Psychopathic.
Like I was impacted.
Okay. And as a result of that impact, did you seek medical treatment?
After May 21st, no.
At any time after May 21st, did you seek consultation with any doctor or other medical professional?
No.
isn't it true that you've never at any time sought medical treatment with a doctor after any of these times you claim Johnny was violent with you?
Objection, calls for a narrative, compound, vague.
Calls for a narrative. She's like the narrative queen.
Ambiguous. Go ahead.
Not true.
When have you sought medical treatment for the claims you were making related to domestic violence with Johnny Depp? If ever. Yes.
In December, I sought medical treatment.
Where did you seek
Twice,
medical treatment?
actually. Once on the
You're interrupting her, Blair.
December, I think it was 16th, right after the incident. As it was likely, I had a concussion because I wasn't quite sure how the night ended. I'd been punched repeatedly in the back of the head, and I was bleeding from my.
Number one, who punches someone in the back of their head? You would break your hand. Number two, she always had bloody lips because she picks the crap out of her lips. She's a lip picker. And number three, she points to the back of her head but says lip.
Felt like my nose was broken, and
Who did you see? What doctor did you see?
I'm trying to answer you as
Okay.
best I can. If you'd please allow me to.
Of course.
It's argumentative.
My friend Raquel.
Mr. Harder calling anyone else argumentative?
Got on the phone and asked a private nurse because it was late.
Who was the private nurse?
Her name is Erin Borum.
Okay. Did she work for Johnny Depp?
Yes. No, she does not work for Johnny Depp.
Did she work for you?
No. she
Had
does
you
not.
ever had any
she
contact
worked-
with her as a nurse prior to that occasion?
Yes.
When?
For the year or two prior.
Okay. So you had a 2-year relationship with this nurse.
She has had a relationship with both Johnny and I, and works for works for our doctor, Dr. Kipper.
And she specifically treated you prior
Vague.
to this December incident in 2015 for the year before, you say?
What are you asking me exactly?
Had she had an interaction or relationship with you as a medical professional prior to December of 2015?
Asked and
Yeah.
answered.
Yes.
And isn't that true that she had that relationship because she was advising you and helping you with a drug issue?
No.
She never discussed a drug issue or
Wait.
helped you?
Vague and ambiguous as to the term drug issue.
Did she ever assist you or have a relationship with you regarding any drug-related matters connected with your personal health?
Vague regarding drug-related matters.
If you mean illegal drug, no.
How about prescription drugs?
Yes, as she's a nurse who works for my doctor, and she was traveling as Johnny's backup 24-hour nurse for his sobriety issues and his detox post this opiate detox.
Notice she always has to go into his issue. She starts listing his medical history, but doesn't at all recount what the nurse took care of for her, be it SSRIs or psych meds or Adderall, whatever it was. And she doesn't name it. She just starts, of course, deflecting using Johnny's issues.
And so she was around.
When you claim you sought medical treatment in December 2015,
Twice.
did you go to a hospital?
The second time I
Oh, now it's twice. Did I miss the first time? She claimed. When did she get medical care before? Other than the nurse she didn't answer the questions about?
sought medical advice, it was in my doctor's office because the headaches wouldn't go away, and I was worried I had some sort of low-grade concussion, if there is such a thing, and I'm not a medical professional.
Did you tell your doctor?
She says she's not a medical professional. So humbly. Like, girl, we know you're no doctor.
Was in my doctor's office because the headaches wouldn't go away, and I was worried I had some sort of low-grade concussion, if there is such a thing, and I'm not a medical professional.
Did you tell your doctor that Johnny Depp had committed domestic violence against you?
Wait, that's a privilege with a doctor,
Okay.
so don't answer.
Did you said you sought treatment for the domestic violence from the doctor, correct?
Wait.
That was
Okay,
worded.
okay.
Yes, clearly it's yes or no. Not what treatment you got, just if you did.
I sought medical treatment because of the injuries inflicted on my head and the lasting pain I was having from them.
This was a yes or no question.
Following Johnny punching me repeatedly in the back of the head, among other things. I went to a doctor's office and sought treatment based on those injuries.
Okay. And did you feel it was important to share what those injuries were?
At the time, I felt it more important to protect the privacy of myself and Johnny, and was worried about the repercussions that could befall him.
Okay. Did you ever at any
Oh my gosh, I'm always so triggered when she said she wanted to protect him. She didn't care either way. She only cared about her reputation. And anything that she could use to make her look better if she looked bad in the press, she would do so. She doesn't care who she throws under the bus, in my opinion. And the whole reason any of this took place is because the night the attack took place, she spoke to her lawyer, or prior to that, she spoke to her lawyer the night of it so that she knew what steps to take so that she could get the proper report. Because in California, if you have a restraining order against a partner, that you cannot be evicted. So that's why she did all of this, in my opinion. And her parents claimed the lawyers made her do it. She didn't really want to do it, but it was her only option, she felt. Then why all this? And she ends up dropping it, but it's excruciating to watch. Yes, because later in this, I'm going to play a clip from one of their last conversations, if not their last conversation, that's on my channel. And also in that conversation, she complains to Johnny about Laura Wesson telling her that her and Rocky and Josh all need to get out within 21 days. So she, and I'm assuming they, all start flipping out on how to ensure that doesn't happen.
time request medical records from this doctor for purposes of these proceedings?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you provide those records here today?
I didn't bring anything with me today. I did not.
Did you provide them at any time prior to any other human being?
The fact he's applying privilege right now makes no sense, because if she gave him those records, wouldn't they want to use it to support her filing this DVO? That makes absolutely no sense.
Then you can't answer as to counsel, and obviously,
That's not true, but
excuse me,
go ahead.
we brought a stack of documents. We've asked about 7 times that she be allowed to take a look at them, and she's never been allowed to take a look at them.
So what I gather from this is she didn't bring any of the records. Johnny's side did, and they don't want her looking at them because they probably know that it's all not true, and she needs to look at it so she can remember what she said, just like her declaration was totally differently written than how she portrays it verbally during the deposition in the part before this. So she shouldn't need to look at them. She should be able to go by memory.
There's not a single medical record in there.
Okay, well then there's your answers to
Then
that question. So why are you asking?
Oh my gosh, so there's not even any medical records in the stack of documents he just claimed they were in. And he doesn't even know that. There aren't any in there. Wow.
Because the witness just testified that she provided medical records.
I didn't.
So
I didn't hear her say that. You keep.
did you obtain medical records in
I
relation
obtained
to
them,
this
yes.
case? Okay. After you obtained them, what did you do with them?
Don't divulge any communication.
Once again, if you were filing a DVO and you obtained medical records, why would you not want to share them? I feel anybody else would want them to support their claims because they feel unsafe. This is what happened, and they want to obtain the protection order. Never makes any sense.
Communications with lawyers.
Okay.
What is the doctor you are referring to when you claim you went to a doctor for injuries suffered from violence by Johnny Depp?
Been asked and answered.
What is the name of the doctor?
Asked and answered.
I'm sorry?
She never answered to what doctor she saw. She only said the nurse. Keep up, bro.
It was. She said it.
Really?
Yeah, you weren't
Well,
listening.
I said Aaron was, but
He said you wouldn't listen to her. How old are you, Mr. Harder?
that was, she was the one who did the initial midnight concussion check.
Erin's not a doctor, correct?
No, she's a nurse. She said
Stop
medical
being
professional.
Okay, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Okay, it is almost 6 o'clock. I asked all day that you speak
You
1
need
at
to
a
slow
time,
way
and I gave
down.
you guys to
Slow
speak 1
way
at a time.
down. She can go as fast as she wants.
Okay.
You shouldn't.
Okay.
It's so strange he's taking the approach of telling her to take it slow, really listen to the question. Whereas before they were just wasting time. It was clear she either didn't know the answer, or she would take forever, or she would have these long-winded answers. And when they would give her documentation to help her along with the timeline she clearly couldn't recollect, she would just pretend to read it, and they were like visibly just running the clock. Now he's trying to make it seem therapeutic that she really absorb the answer honestly, and take your time. So weird.
So,
What is the name of the doctor?
can I answer that?
Mhm.
Okay. Dr. Monroe.
What's his first name? Do you know?
I just know him as Dr. Monroe.
Does he practice in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Where?
I don't know his exact address.
In Beverly Hills?
Yes.
And in terms of what you claim happened after the time you say Johnny Depp threw the phone to the time Johnny Depp left and you didn't see him anymore, your testimony is he hit you again?
Vague.
After the phone hit you? Are you claiming that Johnny hit you?
Are you asking another incident or specific?
No, May
incident?
21.
As I said to you before, I was sitting on the couch with my legs crossed, and my head was down in my hand. I was crying and screaming, "You hit me!" So the impact of his hand, I don't know if it was to grab me by the hair to get me up off the couch, or if it was just an impact into it in and of itself, but it impacted me nonetheless. Next thing I know, he has me by the hair, and he.
Oh yeah, see, that doesn't make sense, because now she's got to slip in there that he must have made impact to the back of her head, which contributed to what she thought might be low-grade concussion headaches afterwards, because she never described him hitting her in the back of the head or anything like that. So now she's claiming him grabbing her by the hair was impact enough to cause a concussion. Dear God.
He is taunting me about not being able to see. Let me see your face. Let me see your eyes. Let me see. You really hurt this time.
Objection.
Oh, now he said, "Let me see your face. Let me see your eye. Are you really hurt this time?" Whereas before it was, "Get up. Get the F up. Get up." And the other time she said that he was saying, "Oh, come on. Show me how big and bad you are. You want to be a tough guy?" The dialogue or expressions always change.
Move to strike non-responsive. Did he hit you after the time you say he threw the phone at your face?
I oppose that motion to strike.
I just answered you that I couldn't tell if it was a hit or not. My hands were in my hands.
Okay, so you don't
Crying.
know.
And the impact of him.
Her hands were in her hands, crying.
And an appendage of his hit me with force.
Okay. You claim that
An appendage of his hit her with force, but she doesn't state which appendage. I can't with this.
after he hit you with the phone, he broke a magnum of wine on the floor of the apartment where you were?
I don't know if he smashed it on the floor or if he just threw it on the floor and it didn't smash.
There was
I don't
broken
remember.
glass on the floor?
Yes.
I've had to have heard them ask her the same questions like 40 times, but because it's getting later in the day, her answers are getting more inconsistent and more inconsistent, because prior she said that he took the Magnum bottle of wine and threw it across the room and hit a wine glass, another bottle, and then put a hole in the painting. Now she can't remember if it just hit a wine glass or if he just smashed it on the floor. And she always describes this glass everywhere. We saw like one bottle of broken wine. Just one. And I think there were 2 pictures and they were actually taken on different dates. I think they proved during the trial. And she couldn't remember which date was which. But in my opinion, they smashed the bottle of wine just to take pictures or for the first time the cops came.
He broke a lot of glass things that left glass on the floor.
And that was where you were, around the sofa and around the stairs in the living room?
On his way out, which is more in the kitchen.
Okay, in the kitchen.
Because
was there any broken?
Oh my gosh, it makes you feel crazy. And the other one, she said that they were sitting in bed, that he came to bed and was like, "What the F is your problem?" And she said she was upset because her birthday was ruined and he wasn't there, even though he was, I've gathered. And that's when she says, "I'm leaving," or it's really unclear whether or not he was off the bed or she was off the bed or either of them were off the bed. And that's when he throws the bottle of wine across the room. Now she's saying, and she said every time before, that he busted everything as he left. But now she's not sure if whether it was just when he left, but she made up this whole story about them having a conversation in the bed, and that's what popped it off. Wow.
Glass, I'm sorry.
Slower, please.
Sorry.
Are you claiming there was any broken glass anywhere else on the first floor of penthouse 5 other than the kitchen?
I don't know. No, I don't remember.
Do you remember
She said the penthouse was destroyed. Wouldn't there be glass everywhere? Everything was obliterated? Okay.
whether you're claiming that there was any wine on the floor of penthouse 5 after you say he hit you with the phone?
Yes.
And the wine was spilled and visible?
Yes.
Okay. And were there any other broken objects scattered on the floor of penthouse 5 after you say he hit you with the phone?
Yes.
What were they?
These we huge, heavy silver candlesticks, candelabra sticks. Those were on the floor, broken. Baskets of fruit that we had on the kitchen island. There were fruit everywhere. Baskets on the ground. The containers holding the spoons and fork, kitchen utensils. Those were spilled. Things that were on a lamp, a little statue thing, among other things. And
your testimony is that after he had done these things, Raquel Pennington came into the apartment, correct?
Yes, but I do not recall if how much of what I just described has been broken. I don't know how much of that had been done before Raquel walked in, because I know he did a lot of it on his way out.
Okay. Had any of it been done by the time that Jerry, his security person, and Sean, his security person, came into the apartment?
Vague.
On May 21.
Like I said, I can't remember if or how much of it had been done by the time Raquel.
If you've made it this far, the secret word is ambiguous, and write it in the comments.
Entered, and Raquel entered before Jerry.
Okay. At the point that Jerry Judge and Sean Bett were in the apartment, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And your claim in your declaration is that Johnny was still screaming, correct?
Yes.
And Johnny
Yes.
was throwing things, correct?
Are you on a line and page?
No, I'm just remembering what is said.
Okay.
He's asking what line and page she's on because he wants to be able to direct Amber to it. And she says, no, I'm just remembering what was said, because that's rare in this scenario, clearly. And neither him nor Amber can ever remember what was said.
Just
I wanna-
focus.
I am focused.
Okay. I just am interested in the truth. So if you could tell us,
I would love to.
when Jerry Judge
She would
and
love
Sean
to.
Betts were in the condo, is it your testimony that Johnny was still screaming?
Yes.
Is it your testimony that Johnny broke things in the presence of Sean Betts and Jerry Judge?
I believe so.
And he broke wine bottles?
I don't know to what I don't know what things he broke in front of them or what happened next. I am on the couch crying, being covered by my best friend after having this happen to me. So I have limited ability to tell you what exactly was broken when Jerry or Sean's eyes are pointed in any specific direction.
And you're claiming that Sean Betts and Jerry Judge stood there and did nothing, though, while this was happening, correct?
They weren't there the whole time.
During the period they were there, your claim is that they did nothing, correct?
They walked in and most of it had been done. He had already charged at me, to which Raquel threw herself in between us, put her arms up to protect us. He'd already pushed Raquel's arms away, intimidated her. We're both back down on the couch. He's protecting me and he's screaming at me at the top of his lungs, which is what I can only guess served as the impetus to get Jerry Judge and Sean into the room. While he's screaming at me, I'm looking down and he's screaming at me,
Oh, but in the other one, she says that no matter how hard she screams help, they never come, ever.
taking a step closer and screaming louder each time. Get the fuck up, Amber, get the fuck up. Get the fuck up. Amber, you hear me? Get the fuck up. And I can only imagine, because it was so loud towards the end, that they came in.
Before he was screaming, oh yeah, you a tough guy? You a tough guy? Show me how tough you are.
I can't tell you the exact moment. Was it at the third threat or the 10th threat? when they walked in. But at some point they walked in, and he
Was-
turned his head, and I hopped up off the couch, ran to the side corner of the room, and said, "Jerry, help me! If he hits me one more time, I will call the police."
But you'd already asked to call 911 by that point, correct?
I didn't know if I was even on the phone when I was screaming.
Objection.
Now, in my part 6 reaction, I played a part from Johnny and Amber's last conversation where he says, "You told Io to call the cops." And she says, "When? When it was happening?" And he says, "Yes." And she says, I really thought I was going to get hurt. Things had gotten crazy last time." And she starts gaslighting into why she told him to call 911. So she goes back and forth as to whether or not she's going to admit or knew whether or not Io called 911. But she knew. She probably made both her friends Raquel and Io call to better support her storyline. And I guarantee, well, in my opinion, in speculation, her lawyer likely encouraged it, and the cops had to be called so it's on record at least once so that she could get the restraining order and not get evicted.
Non-responsive move to strike. You had already asked to call 911 by the time you say Jerry Judge was there, correct?
That's incorrect, because that's to assume that I had somebody to whom I could ask to call.
Did you ask to call 911?
Oh my God, she will not be honest. She knew. And if you have any doubt in that, please go to my video of Amber and Johnny's last phone call, and she admits to knowing in that phone call.
Prior to when Jerry Judge
I
was in
didn't
the
know
apartment?
any.
Vague and ambiguous.
Prior to when Jerry Judge was in the apartment on May 21, 2016.
Vague and ambiguous.
What are you asking me?
Asked and answered.
Had you asked to call 911 prior to this time you were describing when you say Sean Bett and Jerry Judge came in the room?
Vague and ambiguous.
No.
Asked and answered.
No.
I yelled, "Call 911." Asking implies there was someone to whom I could ask this question, and as I have stated before to you, I didn't know if anyone was on the line.
You never asked either of these security individuals to call 911. Isn't that true?
I don't think I asked them to call 911. I threatened to call 911 if Jerry stood by and let him hit me one more time.
You threatened that in front of Jerry Judge and Sean Bett to call 911.
No, I threatened to call the police if he hit me again, and if they let him hit me again.
In front of Jerry Judge and Sean Bett.
To Jerry Judge.
And in front of Raquel.
Yeah. I
And-
said, "Jerry, if he hits me one more time," I said, "Jerry, help me," or whatever. "If he hits me, or he's hit me, and if he hits me one more time, Jerry, I'm going to call 911, or I'm going to call the police, because what else am I going to do?"
And by that time you were already injured, correct?
Yes.
Your face had been hit by the cell phone.
It had just been hit.
Okay. And there was a mark on your face?
How would I know?
Well, did you learn there was a mark on your face later that evening?
Marks develop.
Did you
So
see
do
a mark
police.
on your face later in the evening?
Yes.
When later?
I don't know when the exact time I looked in the mirror. It's for the first time.
Okay. After Johnny had left or before?
Oh, Johnny left right not too long after that. In fact, they told him, "We got to get out of here."
Oh yeah, she almost slipped there and said that Johnny left right away, because that's what I believe happened. He left right away. When he saw she was probably looking for a fight, he retreated, like always.
He smashed some things on the way out. I know that for sure.
After or before is the question. Focus on the question.
Okay. Can you repeat the question?
When did you first know that there was a mark on your face that was visible, that you could see any indication that you had any injury or marks on your face on May 21?
Asked and answered.
Are you not willing to tell me?
You can answer, but you've already answered. I mean, you.
Oh, again,
here's
I
the
don't
problem.
know.
You keep switching the question. So you ask one question, and then you switch the question around and to something that she's already said. So go ahead, Amber. Say what the answer is.
I don't know exactly what time it was that I was able to look in the mirror and see the damage on my face, but I do know that
Yeah, anybody in that scenario that had been hit with a cell phone would say, "I had a mark right away. It was red. Later that night it became a bruise and it ended up staying for a week." That would be a normal answer, but instead we get her responses. And it's because, in my opinion, she used a bruise kit, and she didn't use it until the day she tipped off TMZ and was going there so that they could take pictures of her and it would support her claims.
it felt bad. It felt puffy and sore.
Puffy and sore before the police arrived, correct?
It hurt immediately.
Okay. And your claim is that there were marks on your face prior to the police arriving, correct?
I don't know if there were marks on my face or how puffy or how red it was. I don't know how it looked because I probably didn't spend anytime looking in a mirror immediately after.
Is it your testimony that there was, in penthouse 5, bottles broken, correct?
In penthouse 5?
Yes.
Yeah, penthouse 5 was destroyed.
Destroyed. Glass on the floor?
Yes.
Wine spilled?
Yes. In the hallway as well.
Clear signs that there was damage and
pictures of it.
vandalism in penthouse 5, downstairs.
There was clear damage done downstairs in penthouse 5.
And you believed you had clearly been assaulted by Johnny Depp, correct?
Are you asking me if I believe I had been assaulted by Johnny?
Yes.
How or why did she need that question repeated? She repeated it back exactly how she was asked.
Yes.
You believed he intentionally threw a cell phone that had hit you in the face and committed domestic violence. Is that true?
I can't know what his intentions were.
Did you believe at that time, prior to the police arriving, that he intended that you be hit with that cell phone?
I believe that he threw the cell phone at me and directly, and he was very close to me, and he had great aim.
I'd love to hear a psychologist or psychiatrist or a lawyer explain why she won't answer these questions. She answered the first one with a question and then said yes, and then now anybody that had a cell phone thrown at them, if it were an accident, you'd say no, they threw it across the room and it accidentally hit me. That's apparent, whether or not that's the case. And if somebody threw a cell phone at your face and they meant to, you know it, and you would say, yes, they meant to hit me with the cell phone. But she won't. What is that?
Isn't it true, Ms. Hurd, that the Los Angeles Police Department, Officers Saines and Haddon, arrived later that evening and spoke directly with you?
Okay, listen closely to this part, because how she describes it is not what we heard in the 2022 trial from the law enforcement officers, or what we see in the body cam footage, which I attached in this video, and you'll see shortly after this.
I don't know if they're the first set of officers. I don't know the first set of officers' names.
There were 2 sets of officers that spoke directly with you, correct?
The second set were further away from me, and they didn't speak to me alone in any real way. By that time, another hour had passed, and things had calmed down.
It doesn't matter now because we hear from both officers. The female officer that talked to her in close proximity and the officers that she's describing now that didn't get near her while she was sitting on the couch with Raquel.
And been cleaned up a bit, and so
So you spoke
I don't
with
remember.
2 separate sets of officers directly about what had happened, correct?
I spoke to one set of officers very directly, face to face. The second set of officers, I don't remember if I even got up off the couch and spent much time with them. I remember the interaction to be brief.
Isn't it true that when the first set of officers arrived, there was 1 bald officer and 1 female officer, correct?
I vaguely remember. I know that it was at least, 1 woman and 1 man.
And isn't it true that when those officers communicated with you, they asked you what happened?
Yes, it is true.
And at no time did you ever tell them anything related to your claims that you've made today about anything that had happened on May 21, 2016?
Vague and ambiguous.
What do you mean?
You never made any claim to the police on the evening of May 21, 2016, that Johnny Depp had been violent with you in any way.
I can tell you what I said to them.
Tell me.
I said I declined to give a statement at this time, at the advice of
She never said any of this, and you'll see it on the body cam.
my counsel.
Did you make any other statements to them?
They asked me if he was still here, and I said no. And then they insisted on. They said, "Is this where it happened?" And then
This is hilarious now because none of this was said or done. She's making this up as she goes. But I guarantee at that time, for Johnny, I can only imagine how it would feel, this being done about me.
I said, "Well, yes."
Where what happened?
They said, "Is this where it happened?"
What happened?
The incident for which they were responding.
Did you ever at any time describe any incident with your husband?
Again, all I said to them was, I declined to give a statement at this time, as per my advice of my counsel.
No, she doesn't. She
Isn't
doesn't
it
say any of
true,
that.
Ms. Hurd, that the officers responding, the first set of officers, specifically asked you if the person that had been with you at the time, your husband, had assaulted or hit you in any way?
Are you asking me if they asked me specifically, had I been hit?
Yes.
I don't remember them asking me, have you been hit?
Did they ask you, had there been any contact between you and your husband that was physical?
I do not remember them asking me, but I do not think that they asked me that question.
Isn't it a fact that you were speaking and looking directly at the officers as they were talking to you on the evening of May 21, 2016?
I spoke to them very briefly, to which I did have eye contact with them face to face for a brief moment.
Isn't it a fact they were in your apartment with you for over a half hour?
No, they were not in the same apartment as I for over half an hour.
Isn't it a fact that they were given access to Penthouse 5, the first floor, to do an inspection?
Yes, they were given access. At their insistence, they said they must see everything to make sure that I am safe.
It's pathological at this point, I think. They didn't see any of this, and you'll see for yourself.
And did you allow them to do that?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact when they made that inspection of Penthouse 5, they did not see any broken glass on the floor?
I don't know what they saw or didn't see. I wasn't ushering them around. They did that by themselves with, I guess maybe Josh was showing them around. But there was extensive damage to which we have plenty of evidence.
So I shortened it a little bit. I think it's at 1.25. But you see the officer walking through the hallway. You see them here. And you don't see any damage in the hallway like she claimed or in the penthouse.
Hello, officers. How you doing? Doing all right. You guys have somebody come out here earlier already?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
I can't remember their names offhand. We have a card inside.
Diane, maybe? Yeah, we got another call. I don't know if it's related to the same call from earlier or if somebody called again.
Probably.
So we just need to check. One of you guys know someone in New York or something?
Yeah, she probably called twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just talk to your wife just make sure it's
Oh, it's not my wife.
okay.
Different conversation.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, whoever it is, I'm just about, we just gotta check on, make sure they're all good.
I'll go get the business card from the cops. She's...
Yeah, I don't know, just because we got another call and we came again, we still gotta make sure.
Give me 1 second. Back up. Please, back up.
We'll just come in and just check. We just need to make sure everybody in here is okay and then nobody's...
I called twice. Yeah.
I don't know if she called twice or whoever called, but we just got another notification. So we just need to come in and make sure that everybody's okay.
Yeah,
They're all good. Nobody else is in here?
No.
Okay.
The other officers came by and checked the apartment and the other apartment as well.
Yeah.
It must have been. Like a double call.
Okay. Who's Amber? Okay. And Johnny
Is definitely not here.
is not here? Okay.
Left probably like 2 hours ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Everything's all good then?
Now it's good.
All right.
So it was either for their narrative that the call was made 2 hours after or the police department took that long to get there. But either way, no mention of how long the police took to respond. Wouldn't that have been a little bit traumatic and something you'd remember? The cops didn't even show up for 2 hours. I don't know.
Thank you.
Well, if you guys need anything else, just call us back.
Damage.
Thank you very much.
Glass on the
night.
floor. We also don't see any in the hallway either.
Thank you, officers.
Yep. Thank you.
What they saw or didn't see, I wasn't ushering them around. They did that by themselves with, I guess maybe Josh was showing them around. But there was extensive damage to which we have plenty of evidence.
Is it your testimony here today that the officers saw extensive damage?
I don't know what the officers saw.
Had any of the damage been cleaned up when the officers arrived by you?
By the time the second set of officers arrived, we had cleaned up the kitchen and cleaned up a bed and cleaned up. Yeah.
By the time the first officers arrived, had you cleaned up any damage to Penthouse 5?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So what you watched was the second officers responding, but you're going to hear from the female officer that was one of the first responders.
Isn't it a fact that you went with the officers to Penthouse 5, the first set of officers?
No.
Is it your testimony that you never went to Penthouse 5 with either of the officers or the first set of officers on May 21?
Exactly.
Isn't it a fact that the officers testified at...
She just answered exactly to that question, and we just saw her there.
proceedings in this case, that they in fact went with you to Penthouse 5 and interviewed you in Penthouse 5?
Calls for speculation. You're asking what officers testified about?
How would I know what they said?
Did you ever call any police officers after May 21?
Have I seen any police officers?
Have you
after
ever
21?
contacted any police officers after May 21?
No.
Okay. And did you ever make any attempt to contact the officers who were there with you on May 21, 2016?
I got their business card.
Okay. And upon getting,
They left their business card.
okay. And did you ever make any attempt thereafter, them leaving their business card, to contact those officers?
I did not.
Isn't it a fact you never, at any time after those officers left on May 21, made any attempt to contact the police?
I did not personally.
Did you have anyone else contact the police?
We attempted to.
Who is we?
It's privileged.
Okay.
It's privileged because she was going by the guidance of her lawyer that night, and I don't think they expected the cops to take so long to get there.
You've attempted through counsel to contact the police?
If she did, it's privileged, so don't answer.
Did you ever tell any officers at your house on May 21, 2016 that Johnny Depp had done anything wrong to you?
Can you repeat that question?
Did you ever tell any officers at your house on May 21, 2016 that Johnny Depp had ever done anything wrong to you, that night or before?
You're asking me if I've told them?
If you told
that
them on May
he-
21, yes.
Again, I said to them, I decline to give any statement at this time, as per the advice of my counsel.
Did the
They
police?
did make a comment to me about it seeming unsafe. That's why they needed to check the apartment.
Did any of you see that said? Or maybe I just missed it.
They made a gesture to my face. They said I looked hurt. They also
Wow. Did anybody see any of that take place? I don't know how it's still so surprising to me when I see someone blatantly lie.
pulled me aside and said, look, just say a statement. We can make sure you're safe. Just say a statement or give us a statement and we'll go get the guy. And they said the exact same thing to Josh.
Is it your testimony that a police officer on May 21
Yes.
told you that it appeared you looked hurt?
He or she gestured, I can't remember which one, to my face and said, we can tell you've been hurt or you don't look good or something to that.
Do you see anything that indicated a crime?
I did not.
Up until the point where you knocked on that door, did you see or hear or witness anything indicating that there had been a domestic violence perpetrated?
I did not.
Up until you knocked on that door, did you see anything which you would have considered out of the ordinary?
I did not.
And I guess what I'm asking is, walking from the elevator to the gym and then to the door that you knocked on, were you in the hallway?
Yes, I was in the hallway.
Okay. And during that time period from exiting the elevator through to knocking on the door, was there anything in the hallway that was unusual to you?
Not that I observed, no.
Did you see any stains on the floor?
Not that I recall.
Did you see any vandalism in that area?
No, I did not.
Did you see any broken glass in that area?
I did not.
Okay. And upon knocking on the door, what happened next?
A male opened the door. I don't remember the exact questions and conversation we had, but I remember asking if they called for help, and he said that it was the neighbor and that she was inside of his house apartment with his girlfriend. And I asked him if they could step out, and he told.
So she says that Josh said it was the neighbor, which is Amber, and that she was inside with his girlfriend, Raquel. But Raquel called, or at least that's a 911 phone call I have. And she isn't willing to say any names. She just says my friend and her boyfriend, and she doesn't go into details. Like I said in the last video, that's also on my channel. Why so sketchy shady about who called? When she does call, there aren't any details. Red flags everywhere.
Me to wait, and he shut the door, and we waited for them to exit. I don't remember how much time passed by, and they came out, and that's when we were met with his girlfriend and who I know now as Miss Heard in the hallway.
And up until that point in time, did you hear anything that led you to believe that a crime had been committed?
I did not.
Up until that point in time, did you see anything that made you believe that a crime had been committed?
I did not.
Up until that point in time, did you hear anything that made you believe that there had been an act of domestic violence there?
I did not.
Up until that point in time, did you see anything that made you believe that there had been an act of domestic violence there?
I did not.
Okay. So you indicated that after you knocked on the door, you spoke with a gentleman. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you previously testified to someone as a generic white male. Is that the same person?
Yes.
So your previous testimony, when you were referring to a generic white male, that's the person who opened the door when you first knocked on it, correct?
Yes, there was only one male at the location besides my partner.
And there was only one male, if that's for the entire time you're at the location?
Yes.
So in the hall, you met with the generic white male, Miss Heard, and the generic white male's girlfriend. Is that right?
Correct.
And it was just those three folks?
Correct.
And you were there with your partner, Officer Haddon?
Correct.
And in the hallway, how far were you standing from Miss Heard?
It was close, probably like 2 to 5 feet.
Okay. And at that time, did you notice any injuries on Miss Heard?
I did not.
Okay. Were you looking to see if she had any injuries at that time?
Yes, I was.
And so you were looking to see if Miss Heard had any injuries, and
So I guess this officer is just another rando on Johnny's payroll. And I'm not hearing her say, she said that it appeared unsafe or that she clearly looked harmed. And just to say the word and they'd go find the guy.
so you were looking to see if Miss Heard had any injuries, and you determined that she did not. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And
I had to include this next part because it's funny AF. And Jax's channel is in the description, Movie Myths and Monsters.
Words they used.
But something to that effect?
it is.
Is it your testimony? Let me ask.
She gestured, I can't remember which one, to my face.
Bro, I
and said,
fucking can't. I cannot. No, they did not. Fuck you.
we can tell you've been hurt or you don't look good or something to that effect, but I don't remember the exact words they used.
But something to that effect?
Yes.
Is it your testimony? Let me ask you, did the officers ever say they saw enough to arrest Johnny when they were with you on May 21, 2016?
Well, they said to both myself and Josh that all I needed to do was give a statement in order for them to go get the guy or go make an arrest. Maybe they used the arrest to me, but
And your testimony is here today that one of the officers told you that?
yes.
And was it a male officer or a female
Like
officer?
I said, I really can't remember which one it was.
During
They
the time
also-
the police arrived, from the time the police arrived till they left, did you ever?
So what, did her lawyer not even watch the body cam? Because wouldn't he be telling her like, hey girl, stop? I almost wish she would have let her finish so we could see what else she was gonna lie about.
At any time call any other human being on a telephone
What?
while the police were at your property on Broadway? Did you ever call on the telephone any other human being
While the
police were there?
Not that I recall. I don't know.
You didn't recall? You don't recall calling anyone?
I said not that I recall.
Okay. Yes. Did I mishear you earlier? Did you not say that you called Samantha Spector while the police were there on May 21?
It was not while they were there. It was before they were there.
Before they were there and after you called 911,
I did not call 911.
after you asked to call 911,
I screamed, call 911.
your testimony is between that time and the time the police left, you called Samantha Spector, correct?
No.
Your testimony is that before the police got there, but after you screamed, call 911, you called Samantha Spector.
I called Samantha Spector after Johnny left, and I was being comforted by and protected in Rocky and Josh's apartment. I could hear Johnny still trying to get into the apartments, demanding to get into my apartments, kicking in the doors, throwing the wine bottles. there's still holes in the doors. You can still see to this day from that. And even though it was scary, I wasn't sure if the cops were on the way.
Focus on the question.
And I wasn't sure if the cops were even on the way. And a few minutes later, Josh came in.
Do you remember the question?
Yes, I'm trying to answer.
I see now why her attorney probably was just like, yeah, let's just drop it. He can't even keep her on the rails anymore. And the question was whether or not she talked to Samantha Spector, her lawyer. That's it. All this other stuff is extra, as usual.
Because I want to be as accurate as possible. Josh came in and said, the cops are here or downstairs or something. What should I do? What should I say to them? And I said, I don't know. I wanted to know how to handle it. I think I probably called counsel. I don't know when I called her.
Okay, but it was.
This next part, if I've never seen misleading or deceptive body language before until now, it's now. Her, I don't know, and she looks to the right. Oh my God.
After you learned that the cops were there to find out what to do.
I don't know.
Okay. And after you learned that the cops were there and you called Samantha Spector, was Samantha a friend of yours? Was she a friend of yours at that time?
It's attorney-client privilege.
Wait. She's a friend or not?
No, fine, I don't care.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Yes. When you called, at the time you called on May 21, Samantha Spector, after you learned that the cops were there and you wanted to call her, and did call her, was her relationship with you as a friend?
You just said that I called Samantha after the cops were there, and I have just told you I'm not quite sure when I called her, if it was before the cops were there or not. So I just don't want to answer your question and validate.
They want her to admit it because, in my opinion, Johnny's attorney knows that this whole thing was a hoax and was a setup. So her lawyer wanted her to call 911 so it was on the record, so that it supported her getting the restraining order so that she didn't get evicted, her and her pals. And how awkward that it's the lawyer that's there with her right now. That's a conflict of interest, in my opinion. She says, I am a lawyer, in just a second.
That comment you inserted into the question, if it's okay.
Isn't it true, Ms. Hurd, that you called Samantha Spector on May 21, 2016, because she was representing you in your divorce?
That's attorney-client.
Was
no,
she your
hang
attorney?
on. In connection with your divorce, there hadn't been a divorce filing, so you've got a problem with that question.
Then what did you say to Samantha Spector when you called her on May 21, 2016?
Wait, what did you say to Samantha Spector?
That's my question.
Even I know that's
All right.
privilege.
Okay, good.
And they
Cringe. Look, she just licked her lips, looks down, and now she's like snapping back into that persona. So creepy.
privileged because, Ms. Hurd, she was your lawyer at that time, correct?
Or she was a lawyer.
I am a lawyer.
It's privileged, don't answer.
Do you answer the question?
Okay.
Counsel is directing the client not to answer whether a call made to another person was privileged because it was her lawyer.
Because it was a lawyer. Any community.
Oh God, look at her body language. It's so creepy. And then she's just dead staring like that. It's like she got a second win competently. And this next part's amazing. She says, you may want to brush up on that, Mr. Harder. And then even the quiet person in the back says, yeah, no, you're wrong, Charles.
Communication with a lawyer.
No, sorry, Charles.
You may want to brush up on that, Mr. Harder.
Oh yeah? Seeking legal advice from a lawyer is privileged.
Miss,
You just said talking to a lawyer.
Seeking legal advice from
Excuse
a
me.
lawyer is
may
privileged.
I, yes.
The poor stenographer. No, I think there has to be a transaction, and even I know that. That's why you always see in the movies and on like Better Call Saul, you have to like exchange $1 or something, and then it's privileged. Just because you're talking to a lawyer doesn't mean that it's privileged. Wow. Wow. Dude. And who does he say she shouldn't be speaking about? That's rude. And then I hear Miss Burke say,
She shouldn't be speaking.
Ms. Hurd,
Yes, ma'am.
prior to May 21, prior to, let's say, May 22nd, when you say all these things had happened, did you ever commit domestic violence against Johnny Depp?
Objection. I instruct you not to answer.
Is counsel having his client invoke?
I'll also object to it.
It also calls for a legal
opinion.
conclusion.
Yeah. What's the basis for the
What is,
instruction?
may I ask the basis for the objection?
The instruction.
An instruction not to answer.
It calls for a legal conclusion, and it Fifth Amendment.
There you go.
Prior to May 22nd, 2016, had you ever struck with your hand or fist Johnny Depp?
Johnny,
Thank God it's almost over. If anybody's made it this far, I said the code word earlier on. If you made it that far, was ambiguous. Now I'm gonna say it's ambiguous lemon. And I included the following clip because I truly believe Amber thinks that hitting a man is an abuse. I think she thinks because men are so much bigger, you can't abuse them. And because you can't overpower them, it's not abuse. In her mind, I think, despite lying and saying, well, when I would defend myself, of course I would hit back. That's BS. That's not even what she really thinks, but she reveals how she really thinks in the recording, which is just after the part where she says, oh, go to a judge or a jury. Say, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, Johnny. And he says, yes. And then she goes on to explain. And I don't know if I included the part where she says, like, I'm 115 pounds and you're, because I mentioned that in my last video, how she thinks it sounds absurd because she's so much smaller that it's not abuse towards him, regardless, because of how small she is. It's crazy.
when Johnny would be hitting me, I did my best to stand up on my 2 feet, emotionally and physically. I did my best to defend myself.
Objection, non-responsive, move to
I
strike.
picked up my hands as best as I could. I tried to...
Okay. Ms. Hurd, prior to May 21, 2016, had you ever thrown an object at Mr. Depp that hit him in his body?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Had you ever slapped him prior to May 22, 2016 with your hand?
Like I said, Johnny's a much bigger man than me, and when a bigger man slaps you around, you do your best to defend yourself if you can, and I don't know to what extent I was able to do that.
We're going to take a short break.
How much more time do we have?
30 minutes.
What is the purpose of the break?
We're entitled to a break and we're taking a break.
No, not yet. May we ask what the purpose of the break is?
Yeah, we're entitled to a break and we're taking
We're
one.
in the middle of a line of questioning. Can you please
Thank
sit
you.
down?
No, we're going to...
Are
you joking?
No, guys, I don't
We're
know
taking
what
a
you
break.
expect of me. I can
We
only
have-
do one at a time.
Take a break.
So,
How much
We're not
time?
off the record.
It's okay, I'm
We can
asking
go
a
off the
question.
record.
We're just asking how much
I
time
just
is
want to know how
left.
much time is
Time is
on.
approximately 6:15 p.m. and we're going off the record.
Do you believe you're an abuser? Do you believe you abused me physically?
Do I physically believe, do I believe I physically abused you?
Yes.
Do you know I'm 115, well not anymore, but I was 115 pounds. I'm
That's-
a 115 pound woman and you're going to say I have the capacity to abuse.
That's not the question. That's not the question.
Have I ever been able to knock you off of your feet?
You started.
Off your balance?
You started these things.
You're going to get up on the stand, Johnny, and say she started it? Really? I have never been able to overpower you. That's the difference between me and you.
Why did you try?
And that's the difference that the whole world and the jury and the judge